Yeah, sure. 100 to 1 odds.
Hey, look at that. They'll take the bet.
That's right. I'm in control here.
Okay, I may not be uploading a whole ton, but you know what I have been doing? A whole lot of other stuff, and I thought it'd be fun to have this roulette RNG kind of thing where nobody knows what I'm going to talk about until you reach a certain part of the video, which means I get the bleeps, the sweeps, and the clicks.
I've lost the bleeps, I've lost the sweeps, and I've lost the creeps.
The what? The what? And the what?
You know, the bleeps.
No chapters, nothing to thumbnail. I mean, you can skip along the video, but you know, what's the fun in that? I'm trying. These are going to be relatively short, mostly to the point, and I get to update y'all on what I've been watching or doing or whatever, I guess, and not have to spend weeks working out a whole dissertation on stuff that everyone, I think, pretty much, I feel like covers, you know, in pretty good detail. And you know what, before you say anything, I know this is kind of like ripping off for like a YMS quickie reviews thing, but the twist here is that you have absolutely no idea what it might be. It could be 3 short movie reviews, 4 game reviews, a TV show episode, and a manga chapter discussion, or just one huge long discussion on a new air fryer. I don't know, I'll talk about God of War Ragnarok for 20 minutes and then like hard cut, you know, my favorite brand of cigarettes. No, I'm not. But first, I'm gonna get right into it. I'm gonna just cut all the fat out. It's gonna be pretty straightforward. 3 small reviews. First one, I finally saw, Saw X. Yeah, this is the first movie I want to talk about since, oh man, November, right? I haven't done like a movie talk or review or anything like that. I am so late to this party. This came out in September of last year. Man, surprisingly, I didn't have this spoiled for me as much as I enjoyed the Saw franchise. The last one I saw in theaters was Spiral, and I was so terribly disappointed. I really marked off the franchise as being like dead in the water from that point forward. And when I saw the trailer for Saw X, even with the return of John Kramer, I was like, nope, you're not gonna fool me anymore. I don't feel like I'm gonna support this. I feel pretty stupid about that, because honestly, this is the best Saw movie since, I think, around the first trilogy, you know, part 3, to me, in my opinion. Before you tear your hair out, I wrote this as a Saw fan, so I'm not gonna do a whole overview of the movie or a recap like, you know, a good reviewer should do. If you're watching this movie, this likely isn't your first Saw movie. So, I mean, there really isn't a point, but that is a good point to bring up. If you, for some godforsaken reason, have not seen any of these yet, I do think this would be kind of a solid one to start with. I mean, besides the first one. And I'm just going to say spoilers now. Kramer is here. If you have half a brain cell, I think you can pretty much figure out that this movie is taking place either before 1 or no later than 3, or somewhere in between. And I just also want to throw out there that I very much appreciate that they haven't given in to the temptation of reviving Tobin Bell's character in the franchise, or tried replacing him with some other actor. They kind of tried replacing him, but we all know how that went. So even though this series has some borderline supernatural shit that goes on with the way Kramer, I'm just gonna say Jigsaw from now on. I keep saying Kramer, and I'm thinking of Seinfeld. How Jigsaw can possibly know to the letter how things are going to play out even after his death. That really stretches the suspension of disbelief in this universe. But I appreciate that they haven't just, you know, raised him back from the dead to continue the story. Thank you. Thank you. Please don't do it. That would be the last straw for a lot of us fans. Just please, God, don't do it. But seriously, this really surprised me. I actually enjoyed this. It's not perfect, you know. I don't think we'll ever get a product that fully reaches the level of what Saw 1 achieved. But to me, this is pretty damn close, and it's up there for sure. My biggest praise that I have for the 10th fucking installment to this franchise is that this actually feels like a real movie, and that's not because of its length. This is the longest film in the series, which has some pros and cons with it, but with having John as essentially the protagonist of the movie, it changes the dynamic for what we've been used to seeing in the previous Torture Fest. This doesn't have the crazy rapid-fire seizure-inducing editing, the colors aren't super saturated, this is really stripped down. Even the traps themselves are not too overly complex, they're very simple, which sounds like a negative, and they kind of feel like stripped-down versions of other stuff we've seen in later movies, but I wasn't disappointed. These may not be my favorite traps, but they get to the point well enough, and after 9 of these, the problem is that there's this expectation for them to continuously one-up themselves, and that's when you get crazy shit like the shop window or the laser trap, you know. The sweet spot is to have it simple but effective, and this one is effective. They don't outright say where the timeline of this movie lies. I thought that this was maybe after 2, but it's actually between 1 and 2. So really, this was the first game we got to see Amanda take part in helping Jigsaw, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I would think it would be. Which also kind of helps the setup for 2, because she's in 2, but she's also a victim. So this movie also kind of explains maybe why John had her in the game, you know, to I guess maybe it was like a punishment or like a rehabilitation game to set her up to be in the second movie. So I did like that. That was kind of clever, because, you know, in this one you see her making mistakes. She's taking pity in one of the victims. She's not the hard ass we see her in part 3. So I appreciate the service to Amanda, fleshing her character out more. I still find her kind of annoying, kind of always did, but at least they, you know, they fixed her up a little bit to make her more sympathetic, what she was before to what she is in part 3. And the star of this movie, Tobin Bell, Jigsaw, amazing. I really enjoyed having John Kramer as the lead in this movie. It's definitely a nice break compared to having them focus on these no-name people and slowly reveal how much of a shitty person they are, or, you know, some connection to John Kramer that they, you know, fucked him over at some point in his life. We already know who John is, and I think if you're a fan, either seriously or more ironically, which I definitely am, there's cool bits of fan service and foreshadowing to the movies following this one. Another thing I was a big fan of was with the direction, which makes sense because let's try that again. Kevin, that's right, I mess up Kevin, not Grootert. That's the part I mess up on. I mess up on Kevin. He also directed the 6th movie, which is a fan favorite among many, myself included. Things feeling stripped down and with the camera work compared to the nausea-inducing crap that's in the past movies. I had a much easier time watching this without feeling I was about to have some kind of a panic attack. I could see what was happening, which means even for the simple traps, I could really recognize what I was seeing, which added to my horrible fascination and disgust with everything going on. I could wince and squirm in comfort. Everything's okay, I promise. Saw X, 3.5 out of 5. Go watch it if you're into the series. Really happy this did well in the box office. Keep it coming, please. We miss them. Totally shocked they haven't rebooted this franchise yet. Pretty much every franchise has been rebooted in some either soft reboot or like an actual straight up new retelling, except for Puppet Master. Well, okay. Alright, just go ahead and laugh. Released in 1982. But, okay. If you have a free evening and nothing else to do, and you want like a really old school children fantasy adventure, I kinda do recommend this. Now, if that's not enough, I'm just telling you right now, this has got some weird ass shit in it. Now, a very brief summary of the plot. The last unicorn is just looking for other unicorns, and then you should make some friends along the way. That's the plot, right? In general, just kind of go with that. But there was actually kind of a unique little twist about halfway through I wasn't expecting, which kind of derails the whole search for the other narwhal ponies. But I'm not going to spoil that because I would recommend seeing this if you haven't. Objectively, this is kind of terrible, but it totally adds to the charm of this thing. And I want to say I really appreciate some of the animation here. This is like old school matte painting and cell animation. It's definitely a product of its time. Certainly not Disney quality either, but it is very cute. You know, you can tell it's trying its best, and it definitely feels like it's on a budget. That's pretty on the nose. And for the weird shit, I'm just gonna play this scene and let that speak for itself.
Gumptina crusty starly husty. Oh, I love you.
And if that doesn't intrigue you, which most of my audience are male, so you guys probably already clicked off the video to watch it, but it's also got some pretty noticeable voices in here. And I was careful with my wording because I said noticeable and not good. Most of the voice acting I don't think stands out in like a good way. But you got Christopher Lee here, which is certainly not his best, but regardless, his character has some of the best monologues in the movie. His character feels like someone George R.R. Martin would have come up with. It's a very grounded character for such a childlike, fantastical adventure. But also Jeff Bridges, and he sings, and boys is something.
Music isn't one with me, it runs from me.
I know he's not a bad singer. He sings really good in Crazy Heart, but try to imagine Mr. Bridges, a very young Jeffrey Bridges, he was 33 at the time, singing something like A Whole New World. It is very jarring and totally worth a watch on its own. I was rolling, let me tell you. That's, oh my god. I don't know if it's something you should let your kids watch, but I mean, it was the 80s, you know, that was a whole different kind of standard for kids back then. But it's certainly no Paw Patrol, I'll tell you that much. It's, yeah, 5 out of 5. I know, I don't care. Don't start comparing this. I just enjoyed it that much, and I would very much want to see it again. I didn't even talk about the music. When you think of a children's animated fantasy movie, what kind of music would you expect us to have? You know, something like Lord of the Rings or the original animated movies, that sweeping orchestra, maybe a choir, but definitely something along the lines of like bard music at the very least, right? Well, you're stupid, because apparently it sounds better having a British American rock band write the scores. And it's not bad. It's funny enough, it's not. It's just bizarre. Really unexpected. Which perfectly sums up the movie. It's not as predictable as you'd expect it to be. Just watch it. It's on Amazon. You're welcome. It kind of sounds like it's so bad it's good. Sort of. A little bit. Sometimes it feels really bad, but like just you're watching this more just like in the sheer insanity of it. You just keep watching it and you can't look away. You're like, oh my god, what? I need to know how this ends. So it ends pretty much how you think it would be, but it's still like, my god, what a trip. Alrighty, and the last one, I've been pestering just about everyone I know who's into cooking dramas, and no, it's not The Bear, which sadly is something I just recently started to watch, and that's an incredible show on its own, and not enough episodes in the season, in my opinion. But it's similar in concept. It's a British fine dining experience released 3 years ago called Boiling Point, directed by Philip Barantini, starring Stephen Graham, Vinette Robinson, Ray Pinthaki, and Sanji. But it's a big cast packed with talent, and this is a slow burn. It's an hour-and-a-half long look into one night at this restaurant with Andy, the head chef, leading his team to try and navigate the absolute insanity of this dinner service. That's all I want to say about it, and that's not just to get you to find out what happens for yourself, but honestly, I just don't want to take away from the first watch experience. This movie does a really good job in like relaying the plot and characterization. It's so masterfully done, in my opinion. I've seen it a few times, and I think it is safe to say for now, for me, that this is like pretty, I don't know, it might just be like my favorite cooking movie on the list at the moment, just beneath Ratatouille. That's unmatched. Nothing could ever usurp Ratatouille. That reign is eternal. I don't want to say much besides that it's amazing, because I want you to feel its impact on a genuine blind watch. Don't even look for a trailer. If you like The Bear, you're going to love this, okay? Okay, just trust me. And if the term slow burn scares you, this is one of the best versions of those kind of movies, for me. Traditionally in slow burns that I've seen, about 90% of the movie is slow, you know, to reach this huge payoff by like the third act or sometimes in the very end. But in Boiling Point, which is a very fitting name for this movie, by the way, the setup and payoffs are happening throughout the whole film pretty much, but it's almost like one-upping itself. When one thing is kind of resolved, you feel like, okay, cool, we got through this, it's gonna be okay. And then something else goes to shit and it's like way worse than before, and it just keeps going and going like that. This is not something to help wind down after a work week. This is pure stress for 90 minutes straight. Like, I felt more tension going on here than in some of the biggest suspense thriller blockbusters that have come out these days. And it's just about cooking. And there's a lot more going on than food, but I 120% recommend this if you're into the cooking drama rabbit hole. Fuck it, another 5 out of 5 for me. I don't feel like it deserves anything less. And if you want to go into the characters much deeper, then Netflix actually has a season of the show following the events of the movie in 5 episodes, which, you know, I had to binge. Barely a few hours after I finished the movie, I just had to. It was so good, I loved it. It's not as impactful as the film, but I do think it handles the crew really well, and I hope there's a season 2 coming around. Please don't hang me to dry. I'd fund the filming myself if I could. I just want it now. But there we go. That's it. That's the video. My 3 picks for this week, I guess. They're all strong recommends. I know I need to stop doing that. I need to watch some bad content already. I stick to too much good shit. I can't help it. I'm sorry. God bless you motherfuckers that make whole channels dedicated to bad movies. I really salute you. They're definitely entertaining in their own right, but man, they just seem way fewer and far between. Like, I don't want to watch Madam Web. Like, come on, that's just torture. But who knows, maybe that might be in the next group. I'll suck down the bullet on that. Or maybe not, you know, you just have to stick around and find out. I don't know how it's gonna do. I'm trying. It's fun. I can come up with whatever I want on the spot. This is the dumbest shit. I think it's gonna be cool. Okay, let me know if this is something you guys found interesting. Maybe it is just dumb. I don't know. Who cares? Anyways, thank you guys for watching. You guys take care.